years, so
God, don't
that's
say
special.
that.
But
It is special though.
yeah, I ended up there because I was really shy, as a kind of mousy, this and that and the other, and I had a real hard time, um, really warming up to people. And I went to CWC because it was small, and it was close to home, and I was in love with a cadet, which is why I didn't go on the foreign studies program.
Yes.
But one of my most memorable occasions at CWC, and this may sound kind of weird or funny, was when I was a freshman and I had my first life drawing class. And fourth floor tree, trekking
Oh,
up
yeah,
there
man,
with art supplies and everything, and you get ready for life drawing, and this woman walked in, old woman, frizzy hair, wrinkled, and then all of a sudden she took her clothes off. And I'm standing there, this mousy little freshman, going, she's took her clothes off, and she had the most glorious wrinkles that one could ever hope for, and she was wonderful to draw. And then the other thing is the faces of the people I made, the friendships. I still have so many friends, and they're like sisters. So that's. And I've known both of these girls for at least 40-something years, and yeah, it's special.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
really neat though.
Yeah, so that's my story.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pote, Hugh Pote, and I taught at Colorado Women's College from about 1964 to 1969, and I was in the biology department, and we did all kinds of different things outside of just teaching. I also went up with the girls up to Arapahoe Basin skiing, and so that was nice, sort of chaperoning, and they were kind enough to let me take my children with me. So we had a whole gang of little Potes along with me that went up there to Arapahoe Basin on ski tours. And then I sort of got pulled into the theater department, and I was privileged to play Petruchio in Taming of the Shrew. And people said, how did you learn all of those lines? And I said, I am not sure how I did it. I had lots of help and lots of tutoring, and a lot of people helped me very much with that. My experiences at CWC were really great, and I had a wonderful group of girls that took my class, and some of them took a very small class of genetics that I taught. I have a photograph of only 6 girls in class with me at the board in the 1967 album. So we had a very good time. It was a lot of work. I didn't have any teaching assistant, and when I had the big biology class in Treat Hall in the auditorium, I must have had about 150 girls in that elementary biology class. And it seems to me that this was an 8 o'clock class, and they were sort of traipsing in with their bunny slippers and the orange juice cans in their hair because they weren't quite ready to face the day, and that was sort of tough on them having that 8 o'clock biology class. But as I said, my experiences were really great, and I really appreciated the chance to see a lot of these very grown-up young women since 1967, 64, all the way through there. What's that, about at least about 50 years difference almost, and so it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I was Helen Rowland. I am Mrs. Jesse Proctor now. And I've married a man that came from a men's school. The thing I wish to tell you about is the students who only came in the daytime. They came down Colfax on the trolley and stopped at Poplar Street and walked over about 4 blocks. And that presented us with the problem of where to put our junk. So we had a special room on 2nd floor in Treat, and it had a big closet. And on snowy days, it was full of boots. And then on other days, the girls would come in groups and either have a snack or do whatever they wanted to do in studying. because there were lots of tables to study on. And there was lots of windows for light, because it was an old-fashioned building. And there was a little kitchen attached. So if we wanted to stay after school hours, we could go in there and have a snack and then study. I used to go in there and study. I spent more time on the college campus than I did at home. And I'd stay late sometimes, and then the guard would come in and say, "It's time to go home." And he would escort me out, and then he would lock the door behind me. It was a wonderful building, too, in the way that upstairs was piano rooms. A lot of the little rooms that had been apparently dorm rooms were now filled with big pianos. And I was in dramatics at the time, and I was told to practice the pitch of my voice in conjunction with the piano so that I know what level I was on. And I could hear then whether my voice matched. And I thought that would be good for singers. Anyway, one time in the day room, there was a group of girls that were studying for a real hard chemistry test. And one of the girls, I think it was Woodworth, I think her name was, and I think she became the queen of that group of girls. And she had a test that was all made out, and she would go around and test each girl. And then when they got through, I think it took about an hour or so, they supposedly knew everything in the test. So that was a great place to get help. And they
Build
were doing it
community.
for each other. And we didn't have any faculty or anybody like that doing that. And then the other thing is house mothers. Oh, I hear the girls talking about the house mother. They said, if you ever have any troubles, go to the house mother. And so one time I was coming to school on the Colfax bus, and I was feeling great and fine that day. But I'd only eaten grapefruit for breakfast, so I was pretty perky. I wasn't overloaded with anything. But I got kind of woozy and a little sick on the way, so a nice young man got up and gave me a seat, because normally by the time I got on the bus, it was full. So you just hung on. Anyway, I got off of the bus, and all of a sudden, everything let loose. And then I finally got to the college. I managed to get the 4 blocks. And the house mother came to the door, which surprised me. I said, I need to go to the toilet right away. And it was already too late, really. But anyway, I went to the toilet and I said, my God, you can't sit and throw up at the same time. And I said, every pore in my body was oozing. Everything that could come out, at whatever way, if your eyes could leak or anything could give, my body was showing off the poison that was in it. So when the house mother met me, she had talked to the girl at the front desk, and she said, go get the nurse. And she said, you're the last one. And I didn't know what she's talking about until the nurse came down with this glass of stuff for me to take. It was a white, like milk of magnesia. And she took care of me, and they cleaned me up, and they called my mother, and my brother happened to work at night, and I graduated from high school, so he was working full time, but he was at home, and so he came and got me. But I want to say, I call them super moms, but the day students should come in here and help, because there was a lot that went on in that room. Oh, they used to come in and learn songs in that room, but it was one room that didn't have a piano. I was used to every room I went into at CWC had a piano. And I liked the Landers because they gave a concert once a year, and they also went to Vienna, so they were always up to date. They were great teachers.
Hi, I'm Judy Baker, and I attended CWC in 1956 and 57. And in thinking about what kind of a memory I would like to share with CWC, so someone will remember CWC in the future, what I've thought of is that we were very much individuals at CWC, and instead of being just a member of a lecture class of 300 people in a room, we had small classes. Everyone knew us by name and personality. They knew the good things about us, and they knew the things that were not quite as good about us. And the part that I kind of remember is that if you didn't do your homework, it was obvious because everyone was called on in class, so you had to stay with the program. If you started showing signs of something being wrong, there usually was someone who was picking up on it because our professors cared about us and the staff cared about us. I mean, even I remember Mr. Coates, who was the gardener and drove the bus. I mean, if you were looking like life was good, Mr. Coates also asked what was happening. And so as I moved on and went to Barnard at Columbia University after I left CWC, I realized that CWC had been very unique in the fact that they were paying a lot of attention to us as individuals. Now, this was both good and bad. Because in some ways you could not get away with things that you could in other places. And then the good part, of course, is that they were keeping you on track. But I remember a small thing, we were laughing when we toured Treat Hall yesterday, was that we always had to write thank you notes. And I wrote a stack of thank you notes for some kind of a CWC event my first week of my freshman year. And I wrote them by turning the note paper the wrong direction. And I was called into Dean Mast's office because I had turned them in there to be delivered. And I was called into her office, and I sat at the corner of her desk and rewrote every one of those thank you notes. And every time I write a thank you note over all these years, if I have a little note card, I make sure it's turned the correct direction by Dean Mast. So I think it was this type of attention to us that my parents were leaving to go overseas, and so they were trying to put me in a school where they felt that I would be secure and okay while they were gone. And I think while I disliked the decision they made at the time and didn't ever want them to know during my freshman year how much I liked CWC, they did make a correct choice for me, and the individual attention I received was what I needed. That's what I remember. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Linda, and my maiden name is Goody, and my married name is Michael. And I attended Colorado Women's College from 1960 to 1965, but I graduated in 1964. I particularly wanted to talk about my experiences in Vienna from 1963 to 64. It was the first year of the program. There were 58 girls. We left kind of probably around the middle of September, and went to Rome and spent a few days there. We went to London. Well, first we went to London, and then we went to Rome, and then we went to Vienna. And we came back the first part of May. We went to Paris for a few days before we totally came back. I'm not sure how much education I got. Colorado Women's College was a liberal arts college, so we were all liberal arts majors, and we had music from Dr. Landler, who was on the faculty, and he and his wife were the sponsors. We had art from Frau Dr. Spitzmüller, who was the curator of the Kunsthistorische Museum, and took us to the museum or other places every Friday, and she came on Mondays and Wednesdays. And we had a couple of German teachers because the first one didn't work out, and and he was married to the history teacher, so we had a couple of history teachers. And it was quite a year. It was a very traumatic year. It was a year that CWC learned really how to run their programs. In November, I think it's the 22nd of November of that year, Kennedy was shot and killed, so we got a week off of school, and you already realized it was a short school year. And then they tended to let us take off American holidays as well as the Austrian holidays.